All right, everybody, welcome back to the Horn Takes podcast, your Texas sports talk destination. I am your host, Sean Redfern. It's Friday. We're always happy about Fridays, but this is going to be a pretty cool show. I'm excited about a lot of stuff for this show. We got koozies. I mean, check out that koozie, y'all. I ordered like 200 koozies just because I love koozies. I like to have a cold beverage in the pool, by the pool. And I thought, what the hell, man? Everybody likes a koozie. And what better way to kind of promote the show than to have some koozies? So we'll be doing some stuff where we give away some koozies. I'm going to carry, probably a handful of these things to every game we go to this year, which will be the Michigan game up in Ann Arbor. We will be at the Red River Shootout. We will be at the Georgia game, and we will be at the Florida game. And if we go into some postseason stuff, we'll more than likely do that as well. But if you see me, I'll be the big, tall, ugly guy uh, with sunglasses on, and I'll have a really hot wife. But yeah, man, ask for a koozie. If I have some, I'll give you a koozie, man. Uh, they're actually, I was kind of worried when I ordered them online that they might be crap, but they're actually pretty decent quality. I think they'll stand up to some beer drinking. Fall camp has begun. That's another reason why we're excited. Football season is finally here. Not a lot of news coming out of fall camp, really. That's okay. But the fact the guys are on the field, the coaches are cussing them out. It's hot. Everybody's dying of heat exhaustion. I bet the grass smells good out there, like it's freshly cut. I remember, it's hilarious. It's not hilarious. It's interesting. It's fun, cool for me. I can just drive by like some newly fresh cut grass, and it brings back so many memories of high school football and college football, fall camp, and it's really crazy how memories, sounds, smells, just things you see can really trigger old man. Because I'm old as fuck. I'm like 46 years old. I'll be 47 in September. So it's kind of cool how those things can kind of be triggered by sights, smells, songs, things like that. So fall camp has begun. We are going to do Texas trivia today, and we'll do Texas trivia for 4 more shows because I've got 5 pair of tickets I got to give away to 5 different Texas games. And let me clarify that 1 pair of tickets for 5 different Texas home games will be given away on this show. And all you got to do is wait for the Texas trivia section segment, which means you got to watch the videos. Got to because I'm going to put them in different spots in the videos. I'm not going to do the same thing over and over so you guys can cheat. But you got to watch. You got to hear the Texas trivia, and you got to comment your answer in the YouTube video. If you do those things and you're the first person to do that, I'm going to reach out to you and I'm going to make sure I have your information so I can send you a pair of tickets. And these are nice tickets. These are Longhorn Foundation tickets. These are our season tickets. We sit in section 106 in the first 12 rows, I believe. I think the first 16 rows are chairback seats. We're in the first few rows of that. So they're actually pretty good seats. Even though you're in the upper deck, you get to come out of the tunnel and go down as opposed to going up. Which when I first had season tickets, I sat way the hell up in section 109, about 47 rows up. So those were hikes, but we don't have to do that anymore, which I'm very very thankful of. So these are good seats. They're probably on the I did a TikTok the other day where I think I said 35, 40 yard line. What I meant to say was 30, 35 yard line, right around in there, but still really good view of the field. Actually, as far as watching a game goes, there are some really, really nice tickets. So we're going to give away a pair of those to 5 Texas home games. And you just heard me say which games I'm going to be at. So you can imagine which games you will not be able to win these tickets to. We're also going to continue our position preview for the linebackers today. The linebacker core at Texas has been really interesting, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But ever since Steve Sarkisian got here, it's been kind of just a neat little group, and the way the seasons have played out has always kind of been interesting. And then we'll have some 2024 regular season predictions for you guys for the Texas Longhorns. A lot of people are putting out their predictions. It's kind of interesting. Our friends over at SEC Sports Unfiltered did theirs yesterday for Texas and Texas A&M. Twitter is going crazy about that. We'll talk about that as well. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Subscribe, follow. If you're on YouTube and you're subscribed, hit that little notification bell. It'll let you know every time I upload a video, which if you're trying to win a pair of tickets to the Texas games is a good thing to have because you can be one of the first people to watch the video and give your answer. So uh, check that out. If you just like to listen to podcasts, we are on iHeart, we are on Spotify, we are on Apple Podcasts. You can also check us out at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com. That's kind of our little jump point for our podcast, and it kind of shoots it out to all these different places. You can listen to it there as well. But I'd prefer if you listen to it on Apple Podcasts. All right, 2024 position reviews. We've been talking about all the positions. We did the offense already. We talked about the secondary last week. Time to talk about the linebackers this week. This position has been so interesting to me because every single season headed into the season since Sark's second season, I've had a ton of questions. I feel like there's been a ton of question marks about the linebacker core, but it's kind of been the question mark that hasn't wound up being a question mark. If you look at those seasons, I don't think Texas has suffered at all due to poor linebacker play. They just always someone either steps up and sort of surprises everybody, or it's just the group that you got is just a solid group and they just do what they're supposed to do. I don't know. I mean, you have some defenses where linebacker is one of the most important positions on the field. You got to have great linebacker play or things don't work. I don't feel like PK's defense is that. And I don't say that to take away anything from the linebacker group that has played under Coach PK and Steve Sarkisian at Texas. I just don't think they need that group to be absolutely amazing for the defense to be good. Uh, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to me that we just haven't had like a I don't know. We've had some great linebacker play, some good linebacker play. We've had a couple guys go to the NFL, but it just hasn't been. I don't know, like Alabama type linebacker play, and that's okay. Not a lot of teams are going to have Alabama type linebacker play consistently. There are some question marks though, and let's talk about those question marks. We'll see if they end up being question marks by the end of the season, but there may be a depth problem. Uh, at this point, we just simply do not know. There's certainly an experience problem. Right now, the only two guys that have played a lot, Ant Hill and David Benda, and after that, there isn't just a whole heck of a lot of experience playing linebacker. Now, some of these guys have played some special teams, but not many of them have played a lot of snaps at the linebacker positions. And then I think the other problem when you talk about depth, not only experience, but just bodies, there's only 6 of these guys that are on scholarship as far as I can see. And 2 of those guys never played a snap. Not a single snap at Texas whatsoever. One of them is a true freshman. The other one's a redshirt freshman that had some injury problems. So you're talking about 2 guys, one a lower classman, one an upperclassman that have some experience. And then you're talking about an upperclassman and an underclassman with not a lot of experience. And then you're talking about 2 guys that just have none. So there certainly has to be some question marks about the depth of this team, this linebacker core. Uh, Something else, and I kind of alluded to it. It's been a long time since Texas has had just an absolute dominating linebacker. Now, I think Jaylan Ford was really good. I think DeMarvion Overshown was really good. I think DeMarvion Overshown's speed, his range was right there with my guy I'm fixing to talk about, as certainly sort of dominating. Certainly certainly a guy that, popped, flashed on the field. And you were like, wow, like that dude is moving. We all know Jalen Ford. Jalen Ford had that big junior season, lots of interceptions, lots of forced fumbles. I mean, essentially, if you're this type of person and you say this play won the game, Jalen Ford won a lot of games for Texas his junior year. We all know he got passed over for the Big 12 Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and I think he has a good argument. I think if you take that stance, you got a good argument that he was certainly passed over and shouldn't have been. So there's been some guys, right? DeMarvion Overshown gets drafted. Jalen Ford gets drafted. But to me, like the last dominant guy, like just truly dominant guy that Texas has had at linebacker was Derek Johnson. And we haven't had a guy like that. And I think the question is Ant Hill that guy for Texas? Is he going to be able to step up his sophomore year, kind of the way Derek Johnson did his sophomore? If you don't remember, Derek Johnson was a highly touted guy coming out of high school, a 5-star guy, super blue chip type guy. I don't even know if they ranked players the way they rank players today back then, but he was a guy that everybody was talking about. And when he stepped foot on campus, he started to play a little bit. And I know for me, I wondered why this guy isn't getting most of the snaps because he is just everywhere on the field. I mean, he is literally all over the field making plays, but he doesn't start the games and he doesn't get a ton of reps during the games. But then his sophomore year, he got that start and he became the guy. So for Ant Hill kind of had the same thing last year. Had some starts, played in almost, I think he played in every single game. But, especially early in the season, wasn't a starter. They kind of moved him around. They kind of experimented with him at that outside linebacker position. He in a lot of situations, you saw it a ton against Alabama. He lined up on the edge, came off the edge. He had a couple sacks in that game. So really dynamic guy, but he's going to be the guy this year, and they're moving him to the middle. He's going to be the guy on the field. I mean, I don't think we're going to see Ant Hill come off the field a whole lot this year for a lot of reasons. One is he's really, really good. Two is they just don't have a lot of guys behind them. And I think, the third kind of question is we've seen it the last couple seasons. In 2022, we saw Jalen Ford kind of come in and steal some of that thunder from DeMarvion Overshown, which was the guy everybody was talking about headed into that season. And then last year, we saw Ant Hill kind of come in and steal some of that limelight from Jalen Ford. Is there a guy on this Texas linebacker core that can be the guy that steps up and kind of steals some thunder from Ant Hill? I don't know. I don't know if Texas necessarily needs that, but we've seen it. We've seen it a lot the last couple seasons. Will we see it again in 2024? And I think if we do, I think you can kind of lay all the questions to bed about this 2024 linebacker core. The starters, Texas is going to be 99% of the time, maybe even higher than that. They're going to be in 2 linebacker sets. So we got sophomore Ant Hill in the middle. This guy, highly decorated, obviously highly decorated out of high school. Big 12 Defensive Freshman of the Year, honorable mention All Big 12, freshman All-American by many, many, many sources. Played in 14 games, got 6 starts at will linebacker in 2023. He tallied 66 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, maybe 5.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and a couple of pass breakups. So highly productive guy in limited action in 2023. I think the move to middle linebacker is super interesting. There's been a lot of talk about it. I mean, you've seen guys say, "Look what happened to Harold Perkins at LSU. His freshman year, he was crazy good. And then they moved him to a true linebacker, and he played on the edge mostly. He played outside linebacker, and then they moved him back to the middle for last season. And a lot of people, and I dug into this because I didn't know. I just heard what I heard. A lot of people are, they took production off the field by putting him in the middle. He almost produced. I mean, he was like 2 sacks shy of what he was as a freshman from the middle, and it's a different position. And it wasn't like a low sack total. I mean, the dude produced. So I don't think, for those of you that are worried that Ant Hill moving to the middle will somehow limit him from a production perspective, and you're going to use Harold Perkins Jr. at LSU to sort of back that up. One, that's not really what happened. And two, I just don't think it's going to be a problem. I mean, I think Ant Hill is just a guy that gets all over the field and makes plays. I don't give a damn where you line him up. He's going to move all over the field, and he's going to make plays. Now, I do think this move to the middle was sort of out of necessity, because again, they just don't have a lot of guys. But I also think it's going to make things a lot harder on offenses. I mean, if he's lining up in the middle there, and I know it's not like high school where the middle linebacker is literally in the middle. These guys are going to flex some, and it's going to look a little different, but they're going to know, like, Ant Hill, that's our Mike. But he can do a lot of stuff, man. He is that type of versatile guy. I mean, he'll come on. He's going to blitz a lot, I feel like. They're definitely going to use him as a spy against any mobile type guys. He gets back in coverage well. I think putting him in the middle and disguising what some of that stuff looks like is gonna help him schematically. It's gonna help him sort of keep the offense off balance. Whereas you could tell what he was gonna do when he lined up on the line of scrimmage at the outside linebacker position. He was coming. His mate in the starting group is going to be senior David Benda at will. 47 appearances, 11 starts, 50 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, and 1 pass breakup in 2023. So he had a very productive season. One of the best plays we saw last year defensively was against Alabama, where David Benda comes on the blitz. He gets cut down by the running back. He jumps up, he chases Jalen Milroe down and sacks him. Just a really, really athletic play for a guy that's, David Benda is not the tallest guy. He's listed at 6 foot, which probably means he's not 6 foot. And he weighs about 235 pounds. And that probably means he's more like 230. We all know this. We all know the game. But he's not like your sort of stereotypical linebacker type, especially in today's game, where these guys got to move all over the field. He's squatty body. He is a big dude. I mean, he is jacked, but he is really compact. And I don't know, I don't think you expect that kind of athleticism out of a dude that's built like a bowling ball the way he is. And he did it, and he did it a lot last season. So he's obviously got a ton of experience. And I thought he was really, really good last season. I mean, you look at the two guys that are starting for Texas at linebacker position, and I have no questions. I mean, I think they're going to produce a lot. They're gonna mess things up for offenses. Again, I think the issue you really look at is health. Can these guys stay healthy? Do we have some depth that can come in and give them some time off during the games, so they're not having to play the entire game all the time? I think those are the big concerns. The next two, I really have no idea. I am absolutely 100% guessing on this, but here's what I think will happen. I think you're going to see senior Maurice Blackwell come in as a will linebacker and be the backup there. 33 appearances, 4 starts at Texas, 21 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 1 pass breakup, 1 fumble recovery. He's a smallish type of dude. I think he's listed at 6'2", 210. Super rangy. I mean, the guy played DB some at Texas, so he's one of those like hybrid type dudes that for whatever reason Tom Herman and staff really, really loved. And I mean, DeMarvion Overshown was one of the. DeMarvion Overshown was a 5-star safety, gets drafted as a linebacker, and he never got huge. I mean, I think he got up to like 225. But I think Mo Blackwell is that same type of player. Lots of speed, really long, can get back in coverage and make things difficult on quarterbacks. He's probably going to be a little bit, I wouldn't say liability, but he's not going to be at his best taking on big ass offensive linemen and trying to fit that and really hold his ground there. But he will make a lot of plays with his athleticism. And then I think your other guy, sophomore Leona LaFau, and if I butchered that, I apologize. I think he's going to play some middle linebacker, backing that up. He was mostly a special teams guy as a freshman, but he had a lot of accolades coming out of high school, and he's a guy that a lot of people talk about. He showed some flash on the field last season. He played again mostly special teams, but he did play a few snaps at linebacker, and he was always around the ball. So I think if there's any one thing you can definitely say about this group of linebackers, the ones we know of, ones we've seen play, they get around the ball. They are athletic and they get there, and they punish people when they do get there. So uh, I think we're going to find out real quick if Leona LaFau is a guy that can sort of solidify himself as that number two, and maybe even get on the field at that will linebacker position as well. I mean, he's not a big dude either. I think he's 6'2", about 215, 210, something like that. So he's still a kid, right? He's not filled into his body. And then the dark horses, and they're just dark horses because they have to be. Uh, true freshman Ty Anthony Smith. Obviously, he's a highly regarded guy at a high school. Tons of ran. I mean, you look at his film, and he just ran people down like constantly, uh, all over the place. Just like one of the fastest dudes on the field, almost. It looked like every single time you saw a clip. I think he played some running back in high school. So I mean, the guy's got speed. I think he's going to play Will. He's a little undersized too. I think he's 6'2", 220, 6'1", 220, something like that. So he's not a super imposing kid. But again, I think the days of us seeing excuse me, I think the days of us seeing a lot of 6'3", 245-pound linebackers, I think those days are over. Those guys are spun down to ends now. Man, that shit that was in my throat last week still is this week. I apologize. So yeah, I think for a college linebacker today, his size is fine. And then this is a guy that I'm really, really intrigued about. Redshirt freshman Darian Gillette. You talk about a big kid. He's a big 6'3", 235 pounds. Battled injuries in high school. Has battled injuries since coming to Texas. Didn't play at all last year. He's a middle linebacker, I think, but he is really, really, really athletic. I think he's a guy that if he can stay healthy, could be one of those types we look back on in a couple years and say, man, that was a hell of a player. And that's it. Those are the six guys that I think are going to play the majority of the snaps. I mean, if we got anything other than that, it's going to be walk-ons. I'm pretty sure. I don't think. I think there's 4 or 5 other guys, but I think they're all walk-on type guys. Which I won't ever take anything away from walk-ons. We see it all. We don't see it all the time, but you see it every season. There's always some walk-on that steps up, gets his ass in gear, gets on the field, starts making plays, and eventually winds up with a scholarship. It happens all the time. If you look at the whole of college football, it's a great time, man. I just think we know that Hill and Benda can play. We know the guys behind them were good prospects. We know there's only 6 of them, and everybody else is a walk-on. I think the best grade I can give this group right now is C plus, man, just simply because of the depth issues at the linebacker position. Not a lot of experience past the starters, so these guys that do play, they're gonna have to get their feet wet quick. And you talk about, I mean, think about the guys last year. Game 2 was in Alabama, in Tuscaloosa at Alabama. Game 2 this year, up in Ann Arbor against the defending national championship Michigan. You got to grow up quick. the group with the most questions to me overall. And almost every year it just winds up not being a problem. And I got to think that's what we'll see here again in 2024. It's just not going to be a problem. It's Texas trivia time. For those of you listening, you know what? I had a cool graphic that I forgot to switch to. Check that out, man. We got Ant Hill 2024 position preview. It's my bad. I got so caught up in the moment. I got so caught up in the excitement of talking about koozies and linebackers that I forgot to freaking switch the thing. That's okay. That's why I'm an amateur. I need a producer. Who wants to be my producer for no money at all? You just get the joy of hanging out with me and producing my show. Let me know. Texas trivia. So again, you guys got to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You need to click the bell so that you get notifications when I put videos up, because on the main videos for the next 5 weeks, including this one, we're going to have trivia and we're going to give away some tickets. Comment your answer on this YouTube video. The first person with the correct answer wins a pair of tickets to the Colorado State game. We're going to start with an easy one. What Texas QB is top 10 in career rushing yards at the University of Texas? Remember, folks, answer in the comments of the YouTube video. First correct answer wins the tickets. We'll do this for 4 more home games. UTSA on September 14th, ULM on September 21st, and then a couple of SEC games. Mississippi State on September 20th. And I think, yes, Mississippi State game is the first SEC game at Darrell K. Royal, and you could be there. If you follow me on Twitter, you follow me on YouTube, and you follow me on TikTok, you increase your chances of winning these things by so much. And then Kentucky on November 23rd will be the last game we give away some tickets to. So there it is. There's your trivia, folks. And I got a little screen time for Ant Hill and my 2024 position review of the linebackers. 2024 regular season predictions, folks. There's the teams Texas has to play. It's not real pretty, but that's my graphic, man. I'm slowly learning graphics, slowly learning how to put all this stuff together and make it look cool. If you have any tips, let me know. All right, let's go through it. We're going to go through every single one of these, and I don't want to talk a whole lot about these games because nobody's played a snap yet. We don't know a whole lot about these teams. So a lot of these predictions are just going to kind of be based on roster at this point. Colorado State comes to the University of Texas for the opener. You could win tickets to that, by the way, if you do the thing I said. I think that's a win for Texas. Colorado State, I think they're going to be jacked to be at DKR. They're going to be jacked to be playing Texas. They would want nothing more than to beat Texas. I just don't think they have enough horses. I think they're always seem to be a physical team, and they're going to bring it. I don't think this game's 60-0 at halftime or any crazy shit like that. And I don't even know. I think Texas is like a 35-point favorite right now, somewhere around in there. The last time I looked, which was a few weeks ago. That just seems crazy to me. But Texas will win that game. And Texas goes on the road to Michigan in week 2. I think Texas gets the win there. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it could be a low-scoring game, but it's going to be close. I think Texas gets it done, and the only reason I think that is I just feel like Michigan lost so much off that national championship team. That team, that you look at that team, and that was really a team that was built to, either get it done or they're just not going to get it done. And I think they just lost so much from that. I'm going to give Texas the W there. Texas comes back home, UTSA. I think that'll be another sort of maybe, pardon, sort of a closer game than you would expect type of game. But I think Texas gets the win there. ULM, I think Texas absolutely runs ULM out of the building. Then Mississippi State comes to town. Brand new coach, brand new quarterback. Coming off a not great season last year, I don't think you look at Mississippi State and you're scared of what's on that roster. I think Texas wins that one pretty easily. And then here's where I think the schedule for Texas gets kind of hairy. They go to the Red River Shootout to play Oklahoma, and we all know about that game. I mean, Oklahoma and Texas. I think that's one of those. To me, it's one of the more underrated games when you talk about surprises. I think there's like this general consensus for whatever reason that the best team always wins this game, and I don't think that's right at all. So nothing would totally shock me about this game. I mean, I had no, I didn't think there was any way in hell that Oklahoma was going to win that game last year, and they did, and they made plays. They got the early lead. Took Texas a while to get going offensively. Texas crawls and scratches and gets back into it. And then the OU offense makes another set of really big plays there late to go ahead and win the game. So never know what's going to happen in this game, but I am going to pick Texas to win this game. I think that Steve Sarkisian being 1-2 against Oklahoma, and not only that, but just the circumstances of the way he's 1-2. Steve Sarkisian should be 3-0 against Oklahoma, and it just should be. They jumped out on him his first year, couldn't hold it together. They blew him the hell out in his second year, and at that point, when you start looking at the rosters of both teams and what's going on with both programs coming into 2023, they should have blew him out of, or they should have. I mean, they should have. It should not have been a game that was close, but it was a rivalry game, and it was. So I think Steve Sarkisian finally gets it about Oklahoma in this Red River Shootout, and I think they're going to be ready to play in that one. I think they're going to beat Oklahoma. And then they come home the very next week, and they got Georgia, which is probably going to be the number one team in the country. So they've just got done playing Oklahoma, and I don't know what they're ranked in the preseason. But I think by that point in the season, Oklahoma's probably going to be, man, we're halfway. I mean, they're probably going to be up there, 15, 10. I mean, they could be higher. I don't know. They'll have had an SEC game under their belt against Tennessee, I think. So, I mean, you win that game, and you're undefeated at that point. I think Oklahoma is going to be pretty well respected by that point. And then you got to take on number one Georgia. Now, granted, it is at home, but is the emotion of playing that Red River Shootout game, that shit takes a toll on you. It is hard. It's not hard to get up for a game, but it's hard to really, really get focused and do all the things you need to do every single week to be really successful. I think if Texas has got a chance to beat Georgia, they're going to have to do everything they need to do to be really successful. And it's going to take a whole team effort. The coaching, everybody is going to have to be laser focused to win that game, I think, because Georgia's got a hell of a roster. And so my concern with these two games is what happens. Do we see Texas start to focus on Georgia ahead of the OU game, and maybe they drop the OU game? I don't think that's probably a realistic scenario. I think the coaching staff and the players, they should really understand what this Red River Shootout is all about now. And really what it's all about is you just go out and kick the shit out of the other team for like 60 minutes. It should be a bar fight. You know what I mean? Like everything you have, like you're trying to survive. That's what the Red River Shootout should be. And I think we just haven't seen that from Texas. We've seen I think we've seen it from Oklahoma. I mean, those jackasses went out and got tattoos and made shirts and all kinds of crazy shit when they beat Texas last year. we've heard him talk about it. I go to bed every night. Danny Stutzman, I think that's how you say his name, the linebacker for Oklahoma. I go to bed at night every night thinking about the Red River Shootout and beating Texas. He said that at SEC Media Days, I think. And I think what we've seen out of Texas, and I think it all really started with the Mac Brown era. Oh, it's just another game on the schedule. It's not. It is not. I know Texas fans are sick of losing to Oklahoma. I know the alumni are sick of losing to Oklahoma. The football program has got to start getting sick of losing to Oklahoma. So do we see that this year? And if we see that this year, is Texas able to come back home? At least it's at home. And get ready to do it all again against a Georgia team that, like, frankly, you look at all the teams they've got in the regular season this year and SEC play. They're the most talented roster Texas is going to face by far. So can they do that? I don't think they do. I think they drop out of the ranks of the undefeated against Georgia at home, but I think it's a good game. I mean, I think we're looking at like 2022 Alabama at home against Texas type of game. Real close. I just think maybe Georgia just has a little bit too much at the end, makes some plays, gets it done. Then they go on the road to Vanderbilt. I don't even know why we would talk about that. I can't believe Vanderbilt is still in the SEC. And I actually saw an article or something, a tweet or something that talked about Vanderbilt not being in the SEC anymore. I think from a baseball perspective, probably basketball too. They're a good ad, but from football, man, it is awful. Texas is going to smoke Vanderbilt. And then this is the game I forgot to mention. We'll be at this Florida game. Maybe I mentioned it. Who the hell knows? Florida comes to Darrell K. Royal. To me, that's one of those games that, I mean, Florida's going to have a good roster, but they're just not good, right? Or they haven't been. So, it's Florida turning around and get their crap together by this point in the 2024 season. I don't know that it really matters. I mean, I think Texas wins this one as well. Then they go on the road to Arkansas. Last time Texas went to Arkansas, it was pretty bad. And that was just, 3 years ago? Completely different roster, though, we're looking at for the University of Texas, though, now. Just a night and day difference, especially in those trenches that we always talk about, the big humans. I think Texas wins that game pretty easily. And then Kentucky comes to town. And Kentucky, like, don't take this as literally as you're probably going to take it, but I think Kentucky is kind of like the Texas Tech of the SEC in terms of how they'll find a way to, like, mess with people and mess up people's seasons and almost beat people. And I think that'll be a pretty tough game because, again, you just came off a rivalry game against Arkansas that you had to go on the road to play. And you're looking ahead towards A&M the next week or the next game. I didn't put the dates in here, and I probably should have, which is a huge rivalry game. And the whole state of Texas might just fucking implode on itself for the Lone Star Shootout or Lone Star Showdown or whatever the hell they call it. Used to call it. Who knows what it'll be called now. So that Kentucky game, good thing it's at home, because I think if that game was on the road, I'd be ready to say that is a super trap game. I think Texas will get it done in that one. And then obviously they go down to Kyle Field for the season finale, and what a environment that's going to be. I don't think a lot of people expect A&M to be a good team this year. I think I've seen some stuff where 7 wins, 8 wins tops. So a usual Texas A&M team, I guess, but not a team that a lot of people are giving a lot of respect preseason that turns out to be a 7-win or 8-win team. But it's Texas, at Texas A&M, and that game is going to be wild. It's at Kyle Field. There's a lot of pent-up pissed offness from Aggie fans towards Texas. Texas won that last game in the Big 12 there. Texas weaseled their way into the SEC after the SEC promised Texas A&M that it would never happen. There's just a lot of hate coming out of Aggie land for the University of Texas. Texas steals their freaking baseball coach at the end of their best season they've ever had in baseball. Just a whole lot of reason for Aggie fans to hate Texas. So that place is going to be absolutely insane. I have not even attempted to try to get tickets to that game for a couple of reasons. One, College Station is like a baby little town. There's like nothing there. It's an SEC town. It's like Starkville. It might be bigger than Starkville, but it's not that much bigger. There's not a lot of places to stay there. And two, I think that place is just going to be so over the top with cult shit that my head might explode. Like in my old age, I have like zero patience for weird shit. And I don't know if you've ever seen Texas A&M fans or been to a game at Texas A&M, but it's kind of weird. I think Texas gets it done. I think it's going to be a real close game. I think it's going to be, a bloodbath type of game. It's going to be close, I think. So I got Texas at 11-1. Interestingly enough, our friends over at SEC Unfiltered and Chris Phillips mainly, he put out his predictions for Texas. He had Texas going 10-0, heading into that Texas A&M game, and then losing the game to Texas A&M. And man, I don't know Chris that well, but I gotta feel like that was let me make Texas fans happy by giving them an 11-1 record. 11-1's hard to do. But also let me hype up Texas A&M and give them a win over Texas in the season finale. Man, I just don't see any way possible. And I know, we've seen shit like this before. It's not like impossible. It's not literally impossible, but if Texas runs through Michigan, Oklahoma, Georgia, and all these other teams to be undefeated by the time the Texas A&M game comes, I cannot imagine there's any way that they lose a game to Texas A&M. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. That's the season prediction. I got 11-1. I got a rematch against Georgia in the SEC championship game, and I think Texas takes it. I think each of these teams win the proverbial home game or away game against the other. And I think Texas into the playoffs again as a top 4 seed. We'll see what happens. All right, folks, that's the show for today. Check us out next week as we round out our position previews for the 2024 season. We finish up with the D-line, folks, a position that over the course of the last couple years, we have lost a lot of bodies out of to the NFL. We haven't had a great pass rush. We'll talk about whether we think we will. I say pass rush. I mean pass rush off the edge. Don't forget about that Texas football ticket giveaway, folks. Find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Give us a subscribe. Give us a follow. It will not cost you guys a thing, except you got to listen to me talk. Put up with my takes on Twitter. But I would appreciate the support anyway. You guys can always email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. Look out for these koozies, folks. Y'all get hooked.